So to begin doing this kind of stuff is you can read into the codes, the state codes or federal codes or local codes and stuff like that. And your kind of your biggest ally is the dictionary. And it's not like you look into a dictionary and like you need to like be set in stone that that word means that and that's all that it means. You kind of want to keep flowing and be liquid with what all these different words mean, because each word or each symbol is like its own nation, you know, and it's like you just want the ability to navigate from debit to credit or from jail to freedom, you know. I had a friend who was in jail, you know, for something which isn't important, but he actually was able to, through writing letters, contract himself out of jail and his friend from within the jail, just by his knowledge of contract law. So chances are, if you end up in a place like that where you're going in through this little secluded self-exploration exercise where you feel like you need to be locked behind bars, chances are you're supposed to be there because the law of nature puts you there. So through education or through just, you know, awareness, you can actually just navigate your way out of that area just by the means of moving value around with little pieces of paper. And so on the most lighthearted level, it's just a card game. It's just something that we're using that is to represent the value we're exchanging with one another on a tangible level. Okay, something interesting about symbols is that when symbols kind of come in and out of our mind, or that they come before us and we're interpreting them, that's like kind of one of the requisites that's there, is like there is this interpretation process of how we take in that symbol and how we use it. And the symbol is just a tool. It's like a hammer. You know, you can build a house with a hammer, you can kill somebody with a hammer, you can kill somebody without using a hammer, and you can build a house without using a hammer. It's just a tool. And so each symbol, each word, the word war, the word fluoride, whatever, it's just a tool. And you can use that tool in any way you can possibly think of. But in order to use that tool, there is some level of interpretation or consideration that kind of has to come through your mind. And a synonym for interpret is actually to judge, and to kind of look at it and make it fixate into something so you could distinguish it from something else. So we have these branches of government, and the three branches is executive, legislative, and judicial. And so yeah, we see it out here, but now think inside your body. You actually have a judicial branch of your body, you have a legislative branch of your body, and you have a judicial branch of your body. Did I say that? Judicial, legislative, and executive. Okay, so the judicial branch interprets the law. So just think about this for yourself. Like, you could even just forget for a second what's going on out here. There's a part of you that interprets the symbol. That is the judicial branch of the governing system of your body. There is another branch, which is the legislative, which makes the law. Another word for make is to pay the law. And so to actually like formally establish, the interpretation needs to move to a second position, and that position is making. That's where like a lot of creation takes place when you go from 1 to 2, and then we're going to go to 3, which is the execution, which is the carrying out of the creation to completion, to manifestation. So these three branches are, yeah, we see them in the United States in the branches of government, but they are ever present in our body and the way we are operating this vessel right here. Going kind of back into vessels, so we were talking about the paper that's timber. The paper is actually a vessel for the message that you're looking to convey from one person to another, or the value that you're looking to convey from one person to another. And so if we could think of that piece of paper as a vessel, well, what is the cargo on the vessel? It's the little symbols. And sometimes the symbols are on there spell out names. So if your name is on a piece of paper, it's kind of like your little guy, your little persona or your mask is aboard a vessel. And so like, what's the jurisdiction of that vessel? Well, if there's no flag on there, there may be other symbols that denote jurisdiction. Maybe it's your address. Maybe you have a symbol that, you know, shows your state or something like that. So it's interesting to see that everything's kind of a vessel or a carrier in the sea of space. And in a way, it's like all a messenger. So an exercise that we'd like to embrace when we're interpreting things is we like to embrace discovery. And like sometimes we get so caught on the fixation of of our beliefs and so caught up in them that we, like I said, we're so fooled. We think that that's actually just how things are and it can't even change. But when we can move back into discovery and kind of step back and when our interpretations, when those ideas come through our head, just kind of let them spin, you know, because as soon as we start going like this and pointing our finger on, let's say like a symbol is like its own torus, right? And it has infinite possibilities. And so the idea comes in our head, and so it's being considered. But as soon as we pinpoint a piece on it and we're just like right there, all of a sudden we've kind of slowed that spin down and we fixated that symbol. So now when we hear that symbol, all of a sudden, boom, war. The first thing you think about is, oh no, no war. No, a peaceful world, a heavenly war, has no war. It has no these things. And all of a sudden you start, it's like kind of a way for you to exile things from what you think the perfect reality is. You're like, oh, perfect reality or a heavenly world, there's no war, there's only peace, and there's all these different things where, well, heaven usually, you know, we think of as an infinite place, which means in our heaven there may actually still be war. There may still be everything. There may still be pain. There may still be suffering. There may be every word or every symbol that's ever existed, because the kingdom of heaven is vast, and it goes in every direction. So if we have these stipulations on what we think a harmonious level of awareness is, well, then automatically we're limiting that harmonious experience. Because we say, okay, get this out of here. It's like, boom, it's like FL2, fluorine, right? FL2, boom, out of here. In my kingdom of heaven, it doesn't exist. All of a sudden, your kingdom of heaven went from infinite to something that can be measured. And so how level is your, or what level is your, is the value, where can it be measured? And just recognize that when you measure something, it's like discounting it. And it's like taking the infinite and pushing it down into a concentrated level and making something matter, making something solid or solidified. So just be mindful when you're tuning your experience that when you establish something, which is like making a law to establish in your mind that something is some way, that you are actually tuning your experience, or you're tuning yourself to experience something specifically based on a structure that you're building, which is the only way you can experience it is if you have the belief structure in place that can allow that manifestation to take place. 10 minutes. 10 minutes left? Okay. Okay. So something interesting about the word title is we always hear like, okay, there's these titles, you're like transferring title, and it's another really good synonym for word is title. I'm just going to read a little definition for that real quick, which I think also comes from Black's Law, and that is, it says, the radical meaning of this word appears to be that of a mark, style, or designation. As soon as we hear the word mark, we could think of Mars and war or duality, because we're weighing things, yes or no, good, bad, right, wrong. And so, it's okay to be there. It's like we're not trying to avoid duality. We want to play in that game. We just want to be able to transcend that game at will. So the interesting thing about a radical in chemistry, a radical is something that is looking to like bond with something else, or it's got like a free electron, right, or an ion or something like that, where it's looking to move from one position to another. And anytime we're communicating, we're actually just conveying titles, to other people, because they're these free radicals. They're radicals, and we're just looking to find a spot for those radicals. And like, actually, as I'm projecting these words, they're actually being deposited in banks all around here, because you guys are listening and you guys have your own bank right here, and you guys are now going to consider these ideas and see if you actually want to adopt these as a belief, or if you just kind of want to push it to the side, or do both, just kind of play around with either or. Okay, we were talking about admiralty and maritime law. And we broke the word maritime into the time of the star of the sea. And the word admiralty comes from admiral and also to admire. And admire, a few synonyms down, will actually lead you to mirror. And so what it's saying is, in admiralty law, we're saying if you add a mirror, then all will be a T. And a T is a symbol for the balance. So what we're saying is, if all you can do is reflect the value that's moving, well, then you can make a tea, or you can have tea, as the Queen would say. So when we are issued a bill, with that bill, there's actually a value there that's for us. There's also a value there that's a reflection for the other names that are on there. Like we were saying, if like there's one piece of paper and there's 3 names on there and it says $100, there's actually $300 there. But if your name, your little guy that you're playing with, is the one that actually is the one that is, they're saying in the agreement, that actually owes money, you could take your 100 and you could pay with your 100. So the bill is actually used to finance the debt. You need $0 before that bill comes in the mail. As soon as that bill comes in the mail, you have money to pay the debt. So if you were to ever go into court and say, I don't have the money to pay, they would know that they would say that you were insolvent, and then say, oh, you need an attorney to represent you because you don't know the value that you already hold. Because in order for us to even say that you owe money, you have to already have it, because we have to give you a bill. And that's why the whole system in the United States is structured on the movement of bills, right? We have these dollar bills in our pocket. And the president, when a bill goes before Congress and it goes to the president signs the bill, that's how